It is your favorite agent, Kanya, the property guy, and I am joined by John. Is it Loos?
Loose.
Yes, John
Loose. Yeah.
Loos, and he is an economist. I just told John right now it's the first time that I found an economist is talk interesting, because last time I was here, which was 2 years ago, I walked out during an economist speaking, and I was like, ah, I know economist. And coincidentally, that day was the same day that Floyd was leaving Julius Malema.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
coincidentally. Yeah. How are you doing,
Let's
sir?
see what happens today then.
Are you good?
I'm very good, thanks you, Kanye.
All
Yeah.
good, all good. Listen, John, I found your talk very interesting. I have some points that I noted down. But first, tell us about a bit about your background. How long are you an economist and all of that?
Oh, I've been an economist since the 90s,
Mm,
but the most notable periods in my time have been in banking.
mm,
I was a macroeconomist at ABSA back 2000 to 2005, so that was bigger picture type of economics,
okay.
which is very useful because you need to you get a picture of how everything in the world hangs together,
Mm,
and that served me well later on when I moved to analyzing housing markets
mm,
at FNB,
mm,
where I've been for 20 years.
mm.
But you can't understand a property market if you don't understand the macro variables that affect it. So
Yeah.
there's a useful progression from ABSA to FNB.
Mm,
But yeah, both banks, fantastic time,
mm.
good memories. And
Okay.
now I am an independent economist.
Mm,
Work, well, let's say work for myself, but
mm.
doing public speaking for, amongst other things, and my own
Okay.
economic analysis on housing markets, amongst other things, but the broader household sector,
Okay.
household and consumer, and of course, housing market comes into that.
Okay. So tell me, how does an economist get so good at public speaking? Because an economist and public speaking you usually don't gel.
I don't know. Yeah, it's yeah. I suppose maybe it's my informal, casual type of personality or something. I'm not
Okay.
too. So maybe some people take themselves a bit too seriously.
Yeah.
I think I've just been aware of. I do try to make it understandable. And perhaps some economists, there's some clever economists out
Mm,
there, and they're very good at their content is very good.
mm.
But I think sometimes we just forget as a profession that you're speaking to people who are non-economists. They're
Yes.
educated in something else,
Yeah.
and you need to make it understandable. It's
Mm.
economics is you don't have an impact if you're not understandable as well as being knowledgeable of your field.
Exactly.
It's both. So,
Exactly.
but yeah,
Mm.
why I've done it and some others haven't, I'm not sure.
All right. All right. No, but you do a very good job. I'm telling you, you're able to break it down and make it interesting. Because for us, when we think of economists, we just think, oh, numbers, numbers. And I was not good in
Yeah.
maths. Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, okay. Some of the things that I noted down, um, this is what I found shocking, but like it actually made sense. Looked at the person behind me, and then the person behind me was nodding. This Regia. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. You said the housing market is in competition with the intense consumer market.
Yes. Yes.
Please explain that for us.
So this is, we talk about housing affordability that's deteriorated. Globally, you hear these reports, Gen Z will struggle to get onto the housing ladder
Mm,
and millennials even, and, it's become too, inaffordable.
mm,
Now, look, there's no doubt if you take South Africa as a whole and you take the poor as well, there's a lot of people who don't have jobs and they
mm,
can't afford a house
mm,
and they live in informal settlements,
mm,
sadly. But let's talk about the people who do have jobs,
mm.
and some of them are even graduates, and they're saying,
Yes.
"Ooh, they're going to struggle to get onto the housing
Mm,
ladder." What's the problem here? The problem is not so much house prices that have inflated radically over the past decade and a half or so.
mm, mm,
It's actually something else.
mm.
Okay, firstly, uh, there is a problem with rates and tariffs
Yes.
related to housing.
Yes.
Electricity has inflated far more than income,
Mm,
as have municipal rates, the other utilities. That's a challenge. The
mm,
operating cost side
mm,
of housing,
mm.
that's become less affordable.
Yes.
Then there's another thing,
Mm,
um, and that is that there's this proliferation of consumer goods and services. Now, I am 60 years old.
mm,
I remember the 70s
mm,
as a small kid.
mm,
My dad was a lecturer at university.
mm,
He bought a house he built a house in the suburb, bought a stand, built a house.
mm.
And it was like, how could he afford that? And now these days, varsity lecturers can't.
Mm,
Okay. I don't know how the real incomes of varsity lecturers have changed. Then
mm.
that might have, if you adjust for inflation over those times.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, in those days, there was nothing to buy just about. I remember the house clearly. There was furniture, a few pieces of furniture. In the kitchen, there was a kettle, a toaster, and a stove. There wasn't a TV to buy. There weren't laptops to buy. There weren't cell phone contracts.
Yeah.
There weren't data subscriptions. There weren't apps to subscribe to. There weren't cappuccino shops on every corner.
I had one this morning.
Yeah, you know, and we. I mean, you know, I'm not saying it was hard done by. That was a privileged South African family. Let's call it what it was, who didn't have much else to buy. So there was a lot more spending power available for property, a bigger portion, I think. Now it's like there's a lot to buy, you know, and a lot has become necessities. You know, your cell phone contract you need. You know, there's so there are other things too. You know, healthcare, government healthcare. Higher income people tend to have their own healthcare now. They, you know, because it has often deteriorated. So there are such factors as well.
Yeah.
But the one key factor when it comes to housing affordability that we're not thinking about is this proliferation of products and services to buy, and housing is competing with that seriously, far more than what it was in, say, the 80s or the 70s.
That's very true. When you said that, a light bulb strike, because I put myself in that position, like what you mentioned now.
Yeah.
If I could count the amount, the phone contract, the apps, the takeaways, you also mentioned that there wasn't so much restaurants, takeouts, and all of those things. If I count that, that's a couple of thousands.
Yeah.
Every month.
Yeah.
You see, so like it made sense. It was like,
I must just add one thing though. You know, what I've been talking now is sort of more the national average.
Yes.
There has been a deterioration in affordability of house prices in the Western Cape. Noticeable deterioration. That is true. This region has outperformed the national average. But up country, you know, I'm a Joburg boy, and certainly, you know, that deterioration in affordability hasn't been extreme. But yes, the rates and tariff bills have. Yes, the proliferation of consumer goods and products continues, and that's competing. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Another thing that I found very interesting that you mentioned, the issue of Cape Town being expensive. You said yes, all these causes that you say are causing the property prices, the foreigners that are retiring here, digital nomads, and all those things, but those are not the root cause.
No, I wouldn't say they're not the root cause. They all contribute to driving up prices. You know, digital nomads, foreign retirees, or foreign, you know, even South African expats that might buy a property here, semigrants from up country. That net inflow of skilled and affluent people has been significant. That's a significant driver. So they've all contributed, but what we're missing is locals might be contributing too now. And you go, how is that? Well, I'll tell you how that is. Economically, I think the Western Cape is performing better now because it's built a brand as a place where services work better. That's what's driving the semigration. You've had semigration of skills, net inflow. It's retained its skilled labor and attracted it better than the other regions in the country. And I think that 2 decades of doing that is the reason why services work better, because skills drive a modern economy. And so it's getting into a situation where it's economically outperforming the others. As that happens, it creates better jobs for locals than others. And more purchasing power growth for locals also drives the property market up. So it's that combination of factors. The reality is that if you're going to be an outperforming region, your economy is outperforming, your popularity with investors is outperforming, with tourists and everything else, the implication of that is you will have significantly higher property values. They reflect that outperformance. And you've got to kind of deal with it. So what do? I don't know if the answer is just purely to, you know, sort of curb Airbnb investment, and you might curb tourism too with that. You don't want to do that because tourism creates jobs. You know, or do you curb foreign buying? Well, you don't want to do that because foreigners that come here bring a lot of purchasing power, and that creates jobs. So what do? I think what Cape Town, let's take Cape Town, needs to do is spread its economy around. The highest value economic output, GDP per capita, is in that sort of region, the City Bowl, the Atlantic Seaboard, round the mountain, up the west coast a little bit. That's the high value of GDP. You need to take, and now the thinking seems to be mostly about how do you get affordable housing into those areas? I think what also needs to take place on a big scale is how do you take a big chunk of the economy, or when the economy grows from here onwards and develops, how do you make it develop in the Cape Flats, in the Belleville, the second CBD, the council announced. You've got to distribute the economy more widely and make more areas of Cape Town more attractive for people to stay, to take the pressure off that limited area of Cape Town.
Yeah.
So it's got to be two ways. You've got to work on the other areas too. And I think that's where Cape Town will go. That announcement of Belleville being the second CBD.
Yeah.
I mean, that 2 years ago, that was the start of the thinking of, well, we need to spread this around more.
Yeah. That's also so brilliant, because it reminded me of my days when I was a journalist. I was in one of the areas that are not so good in the Cape Flats, and the people were striking there, and they were saying they want economic activity where they're living.
Yes.
So it's exactly what you're saying right now.
The apartheid city, one of the legacies of that way they planned is the poor. Often, the township poor stay far from where the economic opportunity is. Transport cost as a percentage of their income is massive, and that keeps people poor.
That's true.
So you need to solve that by creating economies in those what were largely dormant and are still largely dormitory towns. It's crucial. It's not just because property elsewhere is inaffordable, but because transport costs are prohibitive too sometimes.
Okay, no, I got you. We can wrap it up, but I'm thinking there's a comment you made on stage there, where you were speaking about Cape Town being how property prices have been so high. You said we as Cape Townians are the ones who are advertising it.
Yes, Cape Townians are great at selling themselves and their place. I mean, if you speak to a Cape Townian, you'd swear there wasn't even traffic in the place. It's so perfect,
and the weather was good.
And the weather's good. But the jokes aside, I mean, it's actually what you want. You want people to market their region. You want people to be proud of their region, and a lot of Cape Townians have that.
Yes,
and that's what I want to see for Joburg. I mean, I love Joburg. It's the greatest gold rush city in the history of the world, built on the greatest. It's got a great modern history. It's where a lot of the political change has played itself out in this country. The first, I don't know if you know it about Joburg, but the first commercial passenger jet flight in the world ever was from London Heathrow to Joburg, and it landed where Katlehong Township is today.
I didn't know that.
Yep, and there's still a piece of runway there. They play soccer on it. Not a lot of people know that, but a lot of great things have happened in Joburg. It's been a serious economic center, sub-Saharan Africa. It needs a coat of paint. It needs a revival. It needs its services to work. It needs to reinvent itself. But you know what, and what it needs is people who live in Joburg who think this is, like Cape Town. This is the place. This is great. This is, you got to get that pride in the place, and that markets, that's what markets it. But it won't be a tourist mecca. It'll be something else. And it's important because millions of people live there. So we need to, we can learn a lot from what's happened in Cape Town.
And I'm very guilty of that. I'm born and raised in Cape Town. Last week I was in Eastern Cape. I just came back on Tuesday. When I was in Eastern Cape, I was speaking to people there who were saying they've never been to Cape Town. And me and my wife were like, what? You should come to Cape Town. We got this, we got this, we got this.
You're doing the same.
So I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
And Eastern Cape people must take themselves more seriously too, because there's a lot of potential up the coast there.
That's how I feel as well.
As the property gets less affordable, you can see semigration, people who want to live at the coast, retirees, whatever they are, it's fanning out. So the Southern Cape.